Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 3 of my story on how I found my life purpose. Picking up from where we left off last week, my purpose of existence growing up as a teeny bopper up until the beginning of high school was to find a sense of belonging within a group of friends where I see them as family and they see me as family, and I know no matter what I can go to them for anything. So I finally found that as a sophomore in high school, and these were the seniors that I hung out with all of sophomore year. Because I went from riding this high of being super cool and super popular, I didn't have the foresight to see that my friends were gonna graduate within a few months and that I will be left with absolutely no one. And that's exactly what happened. When all of my friends graduated, as I became a junior, things started going downhill. If you think of that scene in Mean Girls where Katie goes to eat in the bathroom stall by herself, that was kind of the rest of my high school career. So this drastic shift, I think only looking back, it all makes sense that I lost my appetite. I just couldn't eat anything, and at that time I loved it because I was so skinny, but that's so dumb. I couldn't sleep most nights. I would go for months at a time not being able to sleep until 3 or 4 in the morning. I also felt this looming sense of hopelessness in the form of a black shroud around my head, and I talked about this in my Being Present Rocks and Road Trip video of how the anxiety felt like this constant heaviness in my heart. It is a mix of that feeling you get when you're really nervous. You're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then you're constantly worried, and then there's also a really fat single man sitting on your chest. I would go out and drink and do things because I wanted to numb the pain that I was going through. I am careful with these things, with substances, with everything that I try, but I definitely did use it as an escape to not have to deal with my problems. This whole part of my life got to a point where I actually stopped caring about most of the things in my life that I should care about. My relationship with my mom, my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my family, cousins and my aunts, my schoolwork. I dropped out of AP Calculus and AP English, not because I wasn't capable, I just really didn't care. At one point, I actually honestly thought of dropping out of high school because I had such a terrible time and I just couldn't really, it's not that I couldn't talk to anyone about it, but I just never talked to anyone about it. This whole time, my brother was in college, so he would come home on the weekends and yell at me for being dumb and calling me a lazy busy for not doing the things that I should do. And instead, I'm going to party at UCSB over the weekends instead of doing anything that will be beneficial to my future. It made sense that because I was riding such a high and ended up at such a low place, this contrast made me feel the way I did. Now looking back, whenever I don't have a purpose guiding my life and guiding my existence, my life pretty much spins out of control. And by out of control, I mean being really depressed, being hopeless, being really sad, and not having direction with anything. Ironically, what snapped me out of this whole funk on the quickness was when my brother passed away. My brother was hit by a car when he was crossing the street. Completely random. No one could have predicted this for it to happen. No one could have prepared for it. When it happened, the first things that I thought about were, oh no, my parents just lost a kid. They must be devastated. And so if I were to continue down the path that I'm on and go even further down because I just lost my brother, there would be nothing that they could do about it because they would know why I am this upset. So I think I took it as my responsibility to be strong for my parents, to be strong for my family, my cousins, and to also do what I think my brother would have wanted me to do. Losing someone so close to you, you can't help but start thinking about life and meaning of life and meaning of existence and purpose. You realize life is short and that life is fragile and everything is just so temporary. You're really just this little speck in this grand universe. And so when I put everything in perspective, I realized how silly I was for being so caught up in my own head and in my own really trivial and petty matters. One thing that really helped me put everything in perspective was when my parents were cleaning my brother's room, they found his life purpose. I have a video of that. I will link right here. But on the very top, he wrote, "What would you feel about someone if they died? What would others feel about you if you died?" So upon reading this, having gone through his ceremony, having gone through his candlelight vigil, hearing all the things that people are saying about him, like how he is such an inspirational person and he has an infectious smile and an infectious personality that the world would have been so much better with than without, I started looking at my life and I put myself in his position. What if I was the one who got hit by a car? What if I was the one who died? What would others say about me? And in that moment, I realized people wouldn't say good things because I didn't have good things to say about me. And the reality is, at that time, they would have been like, oh, Rowena, that girl, she goes out and drinks a lot with these older kids. Or, oh, she's this girl that would cheat off of me on every math test. Or, oh, I heard that she would go out and steal a bunch of clothes from department stores. I realized that's not the person I want to be. This is what my brother would have wanted. He would have wanted me to start questioning myself and to start questioning who I am and what I want and what are my values and what do I care about. I started trying to figure out, okay, what's important to me? Who do I want to become? And what do I want to let go of? I decided I wanted to be the best daughter I could possibly be, best cousin, the best niece, the best friend. And because my occupation at that time was being a student, I want to be the best student that I can be as well. This became my purpose for the next couple of years of my life. Senior year of high school, I took 4 AP classes and I did the best that I've ever done my whole high school career. But by then, it was too late. When college acceptances rolled around, I didn't get into any UC that I applied to. I didn't even apply to Riverside, but they did send me an acceptance letter. And I also got into Cal State's and I could go to community college. The way that I considered this decision was, where can I go that'll have the high success rate of me transferring ASAP? And it turned out to be Riverside. Thankfully, I transferred within a year to USC. Right when I got to USC, I just knew I wanted to be in Delta Sigma Pi, which is a business fraternity. So during this 2.5 years, my purpose for being alive was to do well in school, to transfer to some other good college as soon as possible, and to cross the business fraternity that I really, really wanted to cross. Remember what I said earlier about when I don't have a what's next or when I don't have a purpose, my life just turns into shambles and I am a big mess. So that's exactly what happened after I crossed DSP. 2.5 years after my brother passed away, 2.5 years of being okay and being strong and being relatively, I wouldn't say happy, but I was okay. That's a good statement to say. I was okay. I started resorting back to the habits that I used to have, which was going out, drinking, having fun with friends, doing fun things for the sole purpose of enjoying myself. To all of that, there's really nothing wrong with that, but for me, it's just reflecting back on my life. It wasn't a good time. It was actually a really, really dark time. Studied abroad in Hong Kong junior year. My biggest takeaway from that trip was how in the world is it possible for someone to be so sad at such a beautiful place? I looked out of this view every single day from my dorm room and I lived right next to the ocean. I'm such an ocean, beach, huge body of water person. Just by being near the ocean or by being near a huge body of water, I just feel so at peace and feel so at home. But even then, when I was in Hong Kong, because I was so not present, because I was constantly thinking about life back home and constantly thinking about like what my life will be when I go back to the States, I couldn't enjoy where I was because I was so caught up in here. And as you can imagine, all of the feelings that I went through, all of the depression, the anxious thoughts came back because I'm pretty sure I didn't properly deal with it. It's just something came up and it distracted me, albeit it was a really, really good distraction and it led me to great places. I was still distracted. 4 years after my brother passed away, one of my fraternity brothers passed away. It just happened so suddenly and it just paralleled so much of my brother's death, where they're both such brilliant brilliant people. They're such good souls and they have the biggest hearts, and the world would be such a better place with them than without. They're just such good people, and it just made me remember, wow, why do shitty things happen to the best people? And when this happened, I tried to do what I did when my brother passed away, which is what I know how to do, and it's to completely block everything out. I blocked off all feelings, I blocked off all emotions, and it worked. It worked for about 2 weeks. But then I still kind of felt something gnawing and something eating away at me.